Hi, you guys. It's Yaz, and today I'm going to talk about what narcissists don't realize. You see, narcissists think they're clever. They think they're smarter than you and everybody else. They think they can out-trick you. They think they can confuse you, gaslight you. I told you they love gaslighting to confuse you. Gaslighting is all over the place, all right? And narcissists, what they don't realize is that in time, their victims will start to see through them, okay? They never realize that, you know what? In time, their victims are going to see through their toxic behavior. Because what happens is the narcissist is going to repeat the same patterns of behavior. And after a while, people are going to realize, you know what? Something's not right about this person, okay? Something is definitely not right about this person. It's like the covert narcissists. Covert narcissists are fake and phony. They put on a facade. They wear a mask. They pretend to be really nice to people, pretend to be nice to the neighbors and to everybody else. But in time, people start to realize this person really isn't who I thought they were, okay? That it was all an act. It was fake, all right? But narcissists don't realize that. They think that they could be fake and phony to people and nobody will ever see through them. What they do is they pretend to be kind, all right? This is how they reel people in. They pretend to be kind. They kill them with flattery, okay? This is how they reel them in. But the longer the time goes, the more people start to wake up and see what's going on. The other thing that narcissists don't realize is in time, victims will get stronger and the narcissist will get weaker. Yeah, it happens, all right? So the narcissist loses its grip. In the beginning, the narcissist may have their grip on their victims because they've love bombed them. They brought them into their web. They had them, thirsty for them, codependent on them. But what happens is, as time goes by, the victims will hit rock bottom, because this is what happens generally. A victim may hit rock bottom. They may be depressed. They may be alone. They may be anxious because of all that they've been through. But then they start to come up and they get stronger. And this is something that a narcissist never realizes, that eventually victims get stronger in time. And this is going to loosen the narcissist's grip. They no longer will have power over you. You'll get to a point where you're not even going to argue with the narcissist anymore. You're just going to walk away from them. And you're going to start to not care in time about what they say, what they do, because you just become sick of all the nonsense, all right? So they kind of dig their own graves because they're over the top, and eventually people get sick of it, all right? People just get sick of it. So in time, the narcissist is going to lose their grip, all right? They're going to get weaker, and the victims, all right, are going to get stronger, because then they're going to start to realize that, you know what, life would be better without the narcissist. I don't need to put up with all this crap. I don't need to have somebody constantly, criticizing, judging me, or basically doing nothing in the home, okay? Narcissists are very lazy. So you'll find that if you get married to a narcissist, a lot of times you're doing everything. You're parenting the kids. You may be cooking. You may be cleaning. You may be taking care of all the bills, doing everything. And the narcissist does it deliberately. They leave all the hard burdens onto their partner, all right, to do that. And they kick back, all right? So in time, their victims are going to get tired of this and say, you know what? I'm better off alone. I don't need this shit, okay? I don't need this shit. So the victims are going to break away from the narcissist. The other thing that narcissists don't realize is that what's in the dark always comes into the light. And this is the truth, you guys. Listen to me when I tell you this, because I've lived a lot of life and I've seen it. Things that you think will never come out do come out. And I'll give you an example. If the narcissist is a cheater and they've been cheating, eventually it's going to come out, okay? It always comes out. unless the victim is, in blind denial, all right? But generally, some victims may not find out about it right away. It could take 10 years, it could take 20 years, it could take 30 years, where somebody might not even know that their partner was cheating. And then when they find out, everything, their eyes open up, and then they realize what really has been going on behind their back. And they find out because maybe somebody says something to them. They find out because they see something on their phone. They catch them some way, because what's in the dark always comes into the light. And this is something that narcissists don't realize, that eventually they're going to get nailed, okay? Eventually they're going to get caught. Something's going to happen, all right? Somebody may come and tell you that they saw the narcissist with somebody else. Like I said, the big one is the phone. They find information on their phone. People may start to feel that there's something wrong in the relationship because the narcissist is cold with them, may not want to have sex with them, and is distant. And that's where they may have a clue like, oh, something's going on, and they may, track the narcissist and find out things are going on that they never thought were going on. And that's where what's in the dark comes into the light. You also see this with narcissists that, copy, all right? Narcissistic abuse influencers who copy real victims. They could copy all they want, but what they don't realize is that in time, people are going to see that they're inauthentic. Why? Because they never really lived it, all right? They're reading off a teleprompter and putting out videos, and their stuff is so scripted and so AI, and they think they're clever in using AI and copying other real victim stuff. They use AI to copy people's content and put out other content and pretend that it's theirs, or they put fake influencers as a picture, pretending that it's them, doing the video. But in time, because the market gets flooded with all these AI copycats, people start to see these aren't fake, and they lose their authenticity, and then people don't want to listen to them anymore. They lose their credibility because what's in the dark comes into the light. And so many influencers, narc abuse influencers, only tell you what they hear, not what they really lived. Some of them pretend that they actually lived it when they didn't. But real victims know, okay? Because they went through it, and they know who's real and who's not. And they will start to see that, hey, this person is not authentic. They're a fake. They're a phony. They're pretending to be victims when they're really not a victim. And they're using AI to get their information, their content, or they're, taking it from other influencers who are real victims, and they're sitting there portraying that they're the victim. But it comes off fake. It comes off inauthentic because it is. It comes off scripted. But they think that they're clever, all right? People that try to do that for money, they think they're clever, but what they don't realize is that you can't fake authenticity, all right? You just can't, because unless you really went through something, you cannot sit there and really talk about it unless you really, really felt it and went through it. There are things that they can't tell you unless you live through it, right? So this is what narcissists do, narcissists that try to get over for money, how they try to fool you, the AI, all of that, for money. All right. It's all fake. It's all scripted. A lot of it is not even real. Okay. Because it's computer generated. It's not, authentic. You can never ever rely on something like AI or, computers, because it's not the same as dealing with a human being. All right. It's not, just imagine having a problem with something. All right. And you have to call, let's say, a government agency, and it's all AI, right? And let's say you have a complex pattern, a complex problem, all right? With something, with one of your bills or insurance or health care or whatever it is, something complex question that you have to ask them. Well, guess what? AI is not going to be able to answer it, okay? Because there's certain things that you need a human being to, in order to be able to answer it. So as much as they try to use AI, all right, to fill the needs of being a human being, it's still not the same thought process that a human being can give, all right? Because some problems are complex and there's certain, things that come into play that AI wouldn't be able to answer, all right? I'm really getting into it now on the technical side, but the bottom line is narcissists, they think they can, use fake information to, make money or save money, okay? Use AI to make people lose their jobs and everything like that, which is going on right now. It's really, really sad, all right? You can't replace human beings, period, dot, end of story. But narcissists think they can, and they do it in a lot of different ways. And so what narcissists don't realize is that they can't fake authenticity. No matter how hard they try, and especially the covert narcissist, they try to be nice. They try to, oh, can I do this for you? Oh, how are you feeling? But something always seems off. Something always seems off. And that's because they can't fake, fake what's from somebody's heart, somebody's feelings, somebody's emotions. Okay? You can't fake emotions. Period, dot, end of story. You can't, all right? But this is something a narcissist doesn't realize, okay? The other thing is that what narcissists don't realize is that you will eventually be able to live and thrive without them. Somebody put this in one of the other videos, and it's so true. The narcissist will not be, they don't realize that their victims can move on and live a happy life without them. See, they hate that, okay? They hate knowing that you can move on and live your life and be happy and thrive. No, they don't want that. They want to see you in a pit of depression, popping pills, blowing up their phone, chasing after them. That's what they want. But what they don't realize is that in time, the victims will be able to live and thrive without them. And sometimes they do even better because of what they went through with that narcissist, because they want to be happy and they're working on themselves. So this also backfires on the narcissist because their victims sometimes come out and do a lot better than they were even before they met the narcissist, all right? The other thing that a narcissist doesn't realize is that you're never going to let them back in your life. Once you see them for who they really are, you're not going to want them back in your life. See, narcissists think they can bounce back in your life anytime. They'll try you. They'll try you in a couple months. Some could try you in a couple years. But what they don't realize is that most people will never give them the time of day again, okay? That they burnt those bridges. See, narcissists, they don't want to burn bridges. Somebody asked me this question. They're like, well, do they want to burn bridges? They don't want to burn. They don't want to burn bridges, but they end up burning bridges, okay? Because they do so many people dirty that people will never, ever want to bother with them again in their life, and they close the door, all right? The other way they burn bridges is by abandoning people. They think they can abandon people and come back into their life. But nobody wants them when they come back. This happens with their children. They may abandon their children. They come back, they go have a gay old time, good old time, all right? They're out there, they're having a good time for themselves, and they think they could just come back into their child's life later on in life when they slow down. And guess what? Their kids don't want to know them, all right? A lot of their kids don't want to know them unless they have money. Then in some cases, kids will migrate to the parent that has money because they're buying their kids, in a sense, all right? But they burn bridges, and this is what they don't realize, that all these ways that they hurt people, okay, by lying to them, manipulating them, cheating on them, gaslighting them, causing cognitive dissonance, all these ways they hurt people, getting people to gang up on them, eventually nobody wants to bother with them, okay? So this is what they don't realize, that door is going to be nailed shut, okay? Nailed shut. All the toxic ways they live their life is going to catch up to them. This is what they don't realize. And the way they live is going to catch up to them. And this is why narcissists, they end up getting sick before their time, okay? A lot of times narcissists get sick, earlier than you would expect because they ran their bodies into the ground. All the nights they were up late or going from supply house to supply house. All the addictions that they have, alcohol, drugs, the, sleeping around, catching STDs, all of that's going to catch up to them, and they're going to look, you guys, these people will look 20 years older than what they actually are at 50 years old. A narcissist in their 50s looks like they're in their 70s because of all those miles they put on themselves, okay? All those miles that narcissist put on themselves, they're going to look run down and ragged by the time they're in their 50s, all right? I'll never forget, the narcissist that I dealt with, there was a picture of him and, it showed what he looked like, turning, 50. And I was like, oh my God, he looked like an old man. I was shocked. And I said, look, that's all that wear and tear, all right, of him going, supply to supply, all the drugs, alcohol, whatever. I said, this guy looks like he's broke, busted, and beaten up, all right? And that's where you're going to get your satisfaction. You're going to see your narcissist. They're not going to age well, right? So that's what they don't realize, that all that wear and tear and how they live, they're not going to age well. They're going to look older than they actually are, and they're going to get sick sooner than they normally would if they would have lived a healthy lifestyle, okay? The other thing that narcissists don't realize is that later on in life, they're going to need somebody to care for them, okay? And nobody wants to be bothered with them. So what do? They cling on to whoever's around, whoever will deal with them. That's what happens to them. Not their best supply, but the supply that will, end up putting up with them, whoever they could get in the end. And sometimes the narcissists, they'll cling on to somebody who will torture them in the end. It happens. The narcissist will get tortured in the end by some caregiver because that caregiver is just with them for money. What if the narcissist has money, and they will torture them? Believe me, I've seen this, okay? So they burn bridges. The other thing, okay, going on about this, I'm coming to the end, what narcissists don't realize is that all the money that they chased after, all the possessions that they wanted, fancy car, fancy homes, is not going to make them happy, all right? All the money and the possessions that a narcissist could have will never make them happy. Okay, you ever see some rich people? Okay, I did, because I grew up around rich people, Wall Streeters, all right? And they were the most miserable fucking people you ever wanted to know, all right? Miserable, okay? All a bunch of little snots with their nose up in the air, all right? Miserable people that had money, all right? Had money, but were miserable, okay? And you say to yourself, what is their problem? I mean, what is their problem? You would see them, like, let's say by the train station or something, right? And they have their nose up, like who the F they are, right? Who the fuck they are and everything. Like, and they pretend like they don't see you, okay? Because they try to act like they're better than you. Oh, I don't have to acknowledge you. I'm better than you, okay? All right, give me a break. But they're miserable. People that have to do that, they're flat out miserable. So all the money in the world doesn't make them happy. Listen to me when I tell you. Look at all the billionaires. They could have all the money in the world and they're still miserable people, okay? So this is what the narcissist doesn't realize. They're always thriving for more money and possessions, and yet they're still miserable as all hell, all right? So money doesn't make them happy. Nothing's going to make them happy because inside, they're empty inside. They're unfulfilled inside. And it's all from their childhood trauma, not feeling enough or not feeling that emptiness within themselves. They are damaged people. And although they try to get a lot of money, designer things, possessions, they'll never fill that empty void within themselves unless they go for intense therapy. And even that won't work, most times. All right. It takes a whole, exorcism. All right. Or, like Scrooge did when the angels showed up to try to give them a new awakening. So they'll never realize, they are the problem. And the problem lies in the fact that they feel unfulfilled, unsatisfied with themselves, all right? They never realize that no supply is going to do it for them, is going to make them happy. No supply is going to make them happy, all right? They may have a supply, but then they're going to want another supply and another supply and another supply. And they're going to have a backup to the new supply and then a backup to that supply. So no supply is ever going to make them happy, all right? So these people, they're going to go through life chasing their tails, always trying to find that happiness. You know what they have? They have short-term little short-term little cheap thrills, but they never really feel a sense of fulfilled happiness. And that comes with work, okay? Real fulfillment in life comes from putting in the work, all right? It's like you can't just hand somebody an Olympic medal and it means something. No, that Olympic medal means something because of all the work that athlete put into it. You understand? It's the pain, the sacrifice, and that is the fruits that people will reap later on for the fact that they sacrificed during their life, let's say to have a nice retirement and to live nicely with their partner and go on vacations and enjoy their life and not have worries about certain things later on in life because they prepared for that and they worked on their relationship and they nurtured their relationship. And they have somebody who will sacrifice and give to them and be there for them and support them. See, narcissists don't do that shit, okay? And that's why they end up on the short end of the stick where they're older, striving to just have any old chump, okay, that will deal with them. And a lot of times these people will torture the narcissist or will abandon the narcissist themselves. Yes, narcissists get abandoned too, okay, later on in life. So sometimes they do, all right? So it doesn't end up well for the narcissist. So I hope that helps you. If it does, share the video, subscribe. If you're looking for confidential one-on-one phone coaching, check out the link in the bio at askgaz.wixsite.com/thegameexposed. If you're confused, you don't know if you're dealing with the narcissist, what kind of narcissist you're dealing with, and you need clarity, you need answers, you need help, check out that phone link, that coach link in the bio, okay? Also, you guys, on my YouTube, I lay it down, all my reels and videos at the Game Exposed podcast. There's a lot of information, a lot on covert narcissists. I've been putting out a lot on covert narcissism to really give you guys everything on that, okay? Also, Facebook, Instagram is the Game EXP 123, and TikTok is the Game Exposed. And have a great day.